All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us for the MSN in Informatics virtual information session. I appreciate everybody joining us, whether you're watching live or watching the recording. I think this should be an important tool in helping you preview your experience in our brand new MSN in Informatics program. My name is Tom Crash. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions. I'll be your host for this event. Dr. Metzger, would you mind introducing yourself?
No, thank you so very much. My name is Dr. Lori Metzger. I am the Program Director for MSN in Informatics. I also serve as Program Director for another program, so I'm very glad to add this one. I've been in nursing education now for 18 years, and I'm a nurse practitioner. I've practiced, and I have a period of time of being a nurse prior to coming here. But I'm really excited when new programs get launched and new opportunities for nurses abound. So this is, I just think, a great thing. And I'm very happy to meet you in this format so that we can talk about nursing informatics.
Right, and so again, just so everybody knows, this is a brand new program for us. So we're launching this with the initial cohort starting this fall of 2023, and part of the reason is to meet the demand. This is a growing field, and we're trying to do our best to help produce as many as informaticists, is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
Metzger, in the nursing world as possible, and we're confident we're prepared to do that. The event should take probably around 30 minutes. If anybody has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And if you're watching the recording, don't hesitate to reach out to Dr. Metzger or myself. We are happy to help. But I will go ahead and share my screen here so we can get into the presentation here. So Dr. Metzger, probably the most important question is why the MSN in informatics?
Well, as we said, this is a new area in nursing informatics. We've had degrees in nursing informatics, and we're very happy to add this now at Commonwealth University here with our Bloomsburg graduate program. But informatics and the area of technology for nursing is an area now that even in our rural locations and some other areas, it just cannot be denied. We have more and more technology. When I stop and think about all the interfaces that nurses have just to provide care, you may have a texting system, you may have a medication administration system, a documentation system. And that's before you get to any kind of specialty. And so, it used to be that we had nurses who took care of patients, and then we had this technology component that IT specialists handle. And we still have those things, but those two areas are now so entwined that nurses cannot escape having to know higher levels of technology in order to provide their care. It just can't be done. It's too well infused. And so for your clinical care, this is really just something that's necessary. So to have nurses that become specialists in informatics is really priceless. I mean, it's just that nurses who can really understand what nurses need to know and then understand how to make it happen is really a great thing for the profession of nursing. So I think that's why.
Yeah, and it seems to be, based on my understanding, is that an informaticist might be someone who can speak the language of nursing and speak the language of IT, and kind of be,
I would agree.
The person who kind of sits in between those two roles. So that's really interesting. So program overview from a very high level.
So yes, this is the program overview. So basically, this is a 39 credit program. And so what happens is that really makes that doable. You can certainly do it full time in about a year and a half if you want to do it full time. You can certainly do it part time and take 2 or 3 years to do it. But even so, 2 or 3 years, I don't know how anyone who's listening to this feels, but I think 2 or 3 years go by so quickly. I think that's the great thing about it. It's a 39 credit program. Now, if you go to the bottom of this, it says, ability to apply for this directly after your BSN. Unlike some other practice areas where you need to have some clinical experience, and for those programs, it's certainly warranted that you have to have clinical experience, but because we're building in a different way here on your profession, you could go straight into it. So if you really wanted to do it full time, you could, tack on another 18 months and have something that would put you in a specialty. But I think that's what makes that great. We have 9 credits of core information, so some research, role theory, and population health that we need to do for all of our graduate students here at our programs. And then we have these 18 credits of information technology and digital forensics and those kinds of things that really give you the crux of what the specialty of this program is. And then we finish that with 2 practicum courses. So I'll talk about that more on the next slide, but it's 100% online. It is designed for the working nurse. And I speak from experience. I worked full-time when getting my master's degree. I worked full-time while getting my PhD. So I get it. I know what it's like. And I really enjoy working with nurses who are trying to do both of those kinds of things and trying to make that work for you. We are a fully accredited program with CCNE. We've been accredited with CCNE with an outstanding status for 30 years. So you're coming from a solid program that knows how to launch new programs and puts the expertise behind it. So I think it's a great program.
Yeah, and the idea that this program is built for a working nurse is, I think, so important too, because you don't have to pause your professional career to get this degree, which is ideal, and it allows you to continue to thrive in your current career. So the level of convenience there is really ideal there. That's great. So, Dr. Metzger, what are some of the minimum expectations of someone going into this program? Again, they have their BSN or wrapping up their BSN. What is their level of knowledge expected to be of IT and information technology?
Well, really, all the nurses who are coming to us with a bachelor's degree have probably encountered a few technology systems or informatics or information science systems already, because you're working with an electronic health record. So you already have some kind of knowledge. Your medication administration record is probably automated or is some kind of a cloud-based program that you have with that. So our nurses are already coming with some experience in those areas, and that is enough for you to build on, certainly. And it doesn't matter if the program's coming from Epic or Cerner or whatever it may be. You have enough to get you started, because those 18 credits that we're going to give you and then 2 practicums to really articulate your theory are really going to give you enough what you need. So you don't need any additional IT experience. Now, I will say in this program, to be a nurse informaticist, you need an interest in doing that kind of thing. So if computers are not your gig, that may not be it. We have other programs for you, but if you really like that idea and you want to be part of improving not only patient care, but improving the nurse and how she cares for her patients, improving those areas, this really is the program for you then.
Yeah, it seems like it caters to people who might enjoy looking at the big picture.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
High impact changes that might not necessarily impact just one person, but tens, 20s, hundreds, thousands of people, and have an interest in technology. Now, is there any coding that is involved in this degree program?
No, we are not at that point of coding. That's not to say that you couldn't do that in the future, but we're not at that level, because we want, you're not necessarily having to build, you're having to manage those information technology systems and get the most from them, provide information to those innovators that are coding and things for you, but you're really speaking that language. And what you're trying to do is extrapolate information out there when you can't get that information, going back and say, how do we capture this information? If you like coding, that's not going to hurt you, but it's not a requirement for this program. We are at a, like you said, Tom, a higher level, looking at what the nurses are doing. I often equate it to, like, if you're a jigsaw puzzle fan, you got to have the picture of the puzzle in front of you in order to put the detail in there. So if you're that kind of person, I'm not a huge jigsaw puzzle person, but I'll tell you, if I'm doing one, I like the picture in front of me. I don't like guessing where I'm going. So if I know the big picture, the mission, the vision, this is really what helps you then to kind of fill in all those pieces and parts and have that satisfaction when you have a product that's really working. So no on the coding, but a creative mind to improve care for the client and care for the nurse is really where this program's at.
Great, thank you. And then what types of courses might people be taking in this program?
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. It starts out with the first 3 bullet points here that you're looking at is really the core. So we do this for every grade. These are the 6 courses that really focus in on your informatics of what you're going to do. So these projects are really where you gain all of your knowledge and theory that you have here and learn your resources for data analytics, strategic information, cybersecurity, health informatics, all those kinds of things. Then what we do is we come back to these 2 courses. So the last 2 bullet points, these are 2 courses that are 6 credits each. So they're heavy hitters. And the reason is that 4 of those credits equate to 180 hours of practicum. So when you finish this program, you leave with 2 180-hour projects that you put on your resume to say, I have not only learned this information, but I have taken this information, I have now applied it into a real live situation. So you have a preceptor. We certainly work with you to find that preceptor, depends where you want to do it. I have a lot of students, almost all of them, that like to do it where they work. That's absolutely fine. We'll work with you to make that happen and find the appropriate preceptors for you so that now you can say, well, here's a project that we're working on and how can this meet your educational needs? I'll help you set up objectives, and then that's what I hold you accountable to, are those objectives. But when you're done through the first one and the second one, you have 2 projects, and there's a little bit of a difference here between these 2, but you have 2 projects on your resume to say, you know, I've learned all this information and I've articulated this in an actual application of my knowledge. So that as you move forward and you say, look, I have a degree in informatics and it's just not coursework, I have these 2 practicum projects. So that's how the curriculum is designed.
Yeah, I would imagine to break into this career field, that you're going to have some demonstrated proficiency. That's not the honor system, right? Saying, no, I can do this. You need to be able to show, no, look, here's some examples of me doing this. And here again, it's not like you are leaving your job to do an internship. Right. This is something that's embedded in the program and
correct.
In the career. So I think, again, that goes back to this. You know,
and you can do it while you work. I've had many students do it in other programs. We have kind of a similar setup. And so it works. It's all good.
Yep, absolutely. So career options. Again, I know that a lot of these career options are fairly new. And a lot of these options will continue to grow. Seems to be a booming field, though.
I think it is. I think it's really going to take off. There's almost, I'm a little hesitant to say, it's almost nothing we can't do without a piece of technology in front of us. I mean, that's just the way that it is. And so I think this nurse informaticist clinician, where you are not having a patient assignment, but at the bedside on a unit, working with nurses to make something happen, is going to happen. Certainly education fields, a C-suite. When you look at a C-suite now in a hospital, we've traditionally had a chief nursing officer, a chief nursing executive, but there is now, you know, chief information officers and chief nursing information officers or nursing informatics officers. So there is room to grow here. And I mean, telehealth is only going to grow. It's only going to become more easily adaptable for any patient to use. And then the nurse informaticist is going to be the one that is going to make that kind of thing happen. I think people forget sometimes too about quality improvement. If quality improvement is your area and what you're doing, this is really an option of saying, how can we capture this information? How can we put a safety guard in for a system error for a nurse? So quality improvement, there's a whole area of information science that quality improvement is founded on. And this is a great option for your master's degree if that is something that really speaks to you. I have a lot of nurses who they really just love that aspect of making something better, decreasing infection rates, decreasing untoward events for patients. We don't want any of those kinds of things to happen. But just making those things better. So there's a, consultant work, and it makes your career more flexible. Nurses typically go into their practice. I know I did. You work day shift, evening shift, night shift, weekends, holidays. So stepping into a specialty allows you to have a more flexible career as far as from time, which I think is something we all eventually strive for. So great opportunity there too.
Sure. And what are some things that a nursing informaticist or some of the different careers listed? Like, what is your typical professional doing in a career like this? Like, what are some of the projects they're assigned to?
Well, they're going to be the person to go to, say there's an issue with the electronic health record where they want it to do more. They want it to capture, staffing predictions or workflow for a patient. They'll come to the nursing informaticist and say, look, we need a better workflow through our operating room, from pre-op to operating to post-op. This is not working. We have too many checkpoints. We don't have some safety nets or whatever. We've got to make this better. And so the nurse informaticist comes in, and it's up to them to really understand what is your current process, and then really understand what your product can do for you, whether that's medication administration or the electronic health record, or maybe it's a separate product specifically for flow, and where do we capture that and how do we work that through. So if you like to be a problem solver, this is really a role for you. And so, you're called in to do that kind of thing. So you have to study that current issue. Where can you make changes, maintain communication with nurse managers and with nurses on the floor to say, here's an idea, will this work? And listen to the nurses. And as a nurse, that's an easy thing for you to do, because you know what it's like to be at the bedside. Right. So you're going to listen in a different way when your nurses say, that'll work, but your ears are going to perk up because, okay, something's not right. We've got to make that right. We've got to figure that out. And putting groups and teams together and guiding them through a process. So you have some flexibility in that, and you have the ability to form teams and, make successful changes. Yeah,
no, that's very interesting. Very interesting. I was gonna say, now a lot of these professions, they sound like they pay pretty well. I am not a nursing informaticist, as you probably would have already guessed, but they sound to be, again, they're paying well, and it's good to know that this is a good investment in your future career, because not only are you going to be making an impact, but you're going to be in high demand and you're going to be well compensated. So what might someone breaking into this field expect here from like a compensation perspective, or what the outlook would be?
Well, this is an area of specialty. So nurses who are graduating with their BSN 4-year degree are really coming out into the role and probably starting off about $75,000. That's before you do any overtime or anything. So, and I'm really happy about nursing salary. I know there are probably some people in the healthcare administrative world that might not always like that salary, but I'm very happy for nurses. Nurses work hard every day, and it's nice to be recognized for that. So when you step into a specialty, then beyond that, you are certainly approaching $100,000 just to get you started, because you are in a specialty area. And so that is, I think that's, a couple of years into your profession to be able to make that kind of money is really advantageous for nurses. Certainly there's a lot of other areas in business management and those kinds of things, but it takes them a lot longer to get to those salaries, and they may surpass us, but it takes them a lot longer to get there, where nurses are doing this really fairly quickly in the scheme of things. So I'm happy to talk about information. Some chief financial officers may have a different viewpoint. Yeah, but I'm happy about it.
And again, part of the reason why you're well compensated here is because there's not many people that have this skill set. We talked about the coming people. This will be here. You'll be hitting soon, but there's not many people with this skill set. So again, this program was born out of demand. So
exactly.
So that's good news. Now the application and admission process, Dr. Metzger, what are some of the things you're looking for in a competitive applicant?
Well, we've streamlined our application process. We have some great people. Tom is one of them, but we also have some other people working in the admission process. So we've streamlined it. I am looking for a 3.0 on your college transcript for BSN. So just it's kind of a target about a number. I'd always like to talk about numbers, but we all live in the same world. So sometimes it is about numbers. That's where we're kind of focusing. A letter of recommendation, we only require one, but we do want you to list 2 other persons with contact information that we can contact. And the reason is that, you know, sometimes you get everything in and you're really waiting on people to write letters of recommendation. And so we don't want that to be a barrier for you. So use one and then we'll contact the other, and that'll be a verbal recommendation, which is a little bit faster for people. We're looking for your nursing license to be in good order and without any kind of encumbrances on there. Your resume, we are looking for a short statement of your career goals, why you want to do this. And we do accept a rolling admission. So I admit people throughout the year. Some start in the spring, some start in the summer, some start in the fall. We certainly can be flexible with that. So that's the nice part, that it is a rolling admission. I'll say I probably admit more into the fall just because we all tend to think of a academic year that way, but it doesn't have to be. If you get this idea to do this in March, go ahead and apply, and we'll figure out the best time for you to come in. So, and there's always an interview. Once you go through this process, we'll sit down and we'll talk about this information more so I can get to know you better too.
Great. And then finally, you know, if anybody has any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact myself or Dr. Metzger. You know, we are happy to help. Really, you know, we work for you, and we're happy to do so.
Absolutely.
So if there's anything else that we can do to help, please do not hesitate to contact us. That kind of, you know, concludes the information session. We hope that this has piqued your interest in the program, and we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Thanks, everybody.